Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker just ramped up its promotion. We got a new TV spot, a bunch of new photos to talk about. Plus, there was an interview Kathleen Kennedy did with the Rolling Stone. I want to get into that. And I want to talk about these rumors and leaks regarding changes to the ending of The Rise of Skywalker. It's like the news, but for nerds. Shout out to Noah Lebosada. Indeed, Moon Knight is rumored to be in the Blade movie. Make sure you stay at the end of this video where we will ask another nerd car question. JJ, hey, what's up? No, yeah, I could totally do that. No, I know, I saw all the promotion. Yeah, I saw those stories. Yep. No, I can do that. Listen, here's the thing though, the shill check didn't clear last time. Yeah, you're gonna want to look into that. Okay. All right, man. Yep, I'm on it. Is this on? What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday to you. Welcome back to the show. I'm Josh, and man, oh man, we got a lot of Star Wars stuff to talk about. But do me a favor. Look, it doesn't cost you anything. Just do me just one little chop like. Please chop like. Thank you. Okay, here we go. So it would appear in a post-Mandalorian launch week world that Disney is indeed interested in marketing The Rise of Skywalker. Thank God I was starting to think they didn't realize this movie was coming out. And indeed, we got a sweet new TV spot, social media trailer, whatever you want to talk about. It's pretty slick. Doesn't have a ton of new footage in it, but there is some new stuff in there that's really cool. People are talking about. There's interviews being done in Entertainment Weekly with a bunch of new photographs. And man, one thing for sure, this movie is going to be absolutely beautiful. I can't wait to see this on the big IMAX screens. This is going to be really cool. I remain very hyped up for this film. I have a lot of concerns for this movie, which I'll get into at the end of this video, but I overall remain hyped. Can't wait to check it out in the theater. It's a great experience for me, family, friends, Christmas time. I think it should just be a Star Wars time, so it's cool. I'll just say this for the marketing. It's not blowing me away, but then again, and we've talked about this on the channel a lot. It's like, there's different kinds of Star Wars fans out there. The most hardcore people, the people that watch these videos, watch other videos online, we're on the Star Wars League subreddit and all of that, we're a different kind of audience than the mass audience, the normies that Star Wars is going after with a lot of this promotional stuff. So I think it's succeeding. A lot of my friends that don't even watch my videos have been hitting me up, texting me and whatnot, and they're pumped about what they see. So I would say it's probably working. It should work, and hopefully we get a lot more of it in the weeks leading up to The Rise of Skywalker, because we're really close on this thing, man. I really want to see a lot more marketing, so I'm hoping we get much, much more. Okay, now let's get into this article on the Rolling Stone, because this is very interesting. This was something Kathleen Kennedy did, and look, the Rolling Stone points out that Kathy reached out to them 2 weeks before Dan and Dave were officially announced to be let go, and she reached out to them to talk about not only Episode 9, but Star Wars fandom and Star Wars moving past the Skywalker saga. And honestly, it's an interesting choice. Freaking Rolling Stone, interesting choice. This is definitely PR. Kathy reached out to them. It's PR. It's controlled questions. I have no doubt that they went back and forth to see what questions would be okay. But still, there's a lot of really interesting stuff in here. I want to touch on a couple of things, and then I want to get into some spoiler talk about what's going on with The Rise of Skywalker. Okay, so let's get into the first question I want to bring up here, and this is all about Rian Johnson and The Last Jedi. So the person at Rolling Stone says, Rian Johnson made some controversial choices in Episode 7, The Last Jedi, especially considering its dramatic purpose as the second movie in the trilogy. Were you, to an extent, deliberately setting out to challenge fans and their expectations? And she basically says, they definitely did. That was definitely something they were going to do. She's talking about how in the second film in a trilogy, that is what you do. You sort of go in a different route. She's talking about how the first movie is setting things up. The second is usually the conflict, and the third is the resolution. So you're bound to have a second movie, much the same way Empire did, that's more dark and dramatic, and kind of different than the other two. Now, this is interesting because she talks about the fans here. She says, I love that we have these amazingly passionate fans who care so much. And I know sometimes they may think we don't listen, but we do. And I thought it was fantastic that people got that engaged. It just showed me and everybody else how much they care. And that's important for all of us that are doing this. We really look at them as the custodians of this story as much as we are. We look at it as a kind of a partnership. Now, that is a beautiful statement, applause. Honestly, that's a beautiful statement. Again, this is a PR thing. Frankly, I've been disappointed in the way that Disney has handled the PR and some of the people at Disney, and a lot of this stuff gets taken out of context, but it's totally fair to say that Ryan has not always spoken this eloquently when talking about the fans and the hate and stuff that he gets. I think it's even fair that Kathy maybe hasn't spoken the best way about some of this stuff, although she has not really spoken that much at all, and a lot of her stuff gets taken out of context. But I just think this is an interesting attempt to try to quell some of the PR problems that they have been having. But honestly, I feel like this message needs elevated. This needs to be, first of all, I've said probably 6 months, a year ago, and also this should have been something blasted out, very public. This should have been something that they were talking about a lot. But still, effort, fair. I think that's good. So then they ask about what's coming next if it's unconnected to the Skywalker saga. This represents maybe one of the biggest challenges in the history of the franchise, and until now, everything is in some way connected to the original. And Kathy's very forward about this. She says it's an incredible challenge, and it's something that we're in the middle of, and I can't even begin to tell you where this may end up, but I think you're absolutely right. I think whatever the next movie is, and how it begins to define a new way forward. It's something we want to take plenty of time with, plenty of conversation about, and careful thought before deciding exactly what we're going to do next. So then the dude asks, so you truly haven't decided on what's next? And she says, no. We've got various things that we're looking at, various ways in which it can go, but she frankly has no idea. Do we stay in this galaxy? Do we go to another one? You know what I mean? The universe is never ending. The good news and the bad news, they have endless possibilities. It's liberating, it's exciting, creates a lot of pressure and anxiety as well. Interesting answer. Frankly, it's going to be very challenging, but possibly a really good thing for them to move away from the Skywalker saga and give us whatever the next phase of Star Wars is. Then she gets asked about Kevin Feige, and my ears perked up when I heard this question asked. She answers, Kevin has been a huge fan of Star Wars, and he's made that pretty clear. And I think that when he went off to do a couple of the Spider-Man movies, he realized that he could kind of step in and out of what he's doing specifically with just Marvel. He talked to us, and he talked to the studio and said, is there any chance I could step in and do one of the Star Wars movies? And I thought it was a pretty good idea. So we're just beginning to talk about that and what that might be, but it's a ways off. So interesting answer. Clearly talking about the Sony situation and how Feige can step out of his role and do other things. And, look, the discussion about Feige's bandwidth and everything, I think it's I've spoken about it to death at this point, but it's just not something that we should take into consideration as far as what he's capable of. He's clearly capable of letting Marvel almost run itself at this time and come over and do some Star Wars stuff. I think he's more than capable of that. Again, though, a real thing. She's talking about it, but it's a ways off. But guess what else is a ways off? 2021. That's when the next Star Wars movie is coming out. So, on record, there's no indication that that's going to be the Feige movie. I still think it is going to be the Feige movie. They ask her about how long she's going to keep doing this. She talks about how it's been awesome. She talks about how George appointed her. She feels this responsibility, and just basically says whatever the future holds, who knows? I don't know. Boilerplate answer, but kudos to Rolling Stone for addressing that question. And I think that Kathy answered it in a good way, sort of reminding people that George put her into this position, right? And just saying, hey, who knows? And frankly, I think that she probably will step down in 2021, but it's not going to be like a fire, brimstone, you're fired sort of thing. I think that she will walk off into the sunset and we'll sort of get a refresh. Now, lastly, I want to talk about this. This is so interesting. Rolling Stone asks, is there any universe in which George can be lured back for some kind of one-off or just to do anything? She said, I doubt it, but listen, I think that would be fantastic if he would be interested in doing that again, but I doubt it. He's loving doing his museum and all that. It's a huge project, blah, blah, blah. So she thinks he's pretty fulfilled. But she also says that she would love it if he wanted to come back and do a Star Wars. And what's really interesting about that is, and maybe we'll do like a lot of videos on this idea, but I really do think that they should consult or have George Lucas heavily involved in whatever they do next. It's going to go away from the Skywalkers. Totally get that. But just think about it from like a marketing perspective. I think it's a beautiful opportunity to bring George back and set the new, whatever the new thing is, at least set it up with him. Like, why wouldn't you? I mean, at this point, one of the people that comes out of this whole situation with the sequel trilogy looking really good is George Lucas. And this was a guy that was really, really hated on heavily for the prequels. Like, big time hate. A lot of people forget that. It was big time hate. But now things are different, and there's a lot of clamoring to get George back. I mean, a lot of people bring up the fact that the Mando feels more like George, and George's involvement is held up as a good thing. And it's just such an interesting situation. But frankly, why wouldn't you want to bring George back in a big way to set up the next Star Wars? You know what I mean? Like, honestly, it just seems like a no-brainer to me, and it's really cool that Rolling Stone brought that up. I saw some people saying that in this article she takes shots at Marvel because she's talking about how they're not adapting things, like they're not adapting comic books or 800-page novels or whatever, so there's no source material. I don't think she's taking shots at anything. I do think that's an interesting point. Like, there's no source material. But as many fans would point out, you have a bevy of incredible stories that were told in the EU. And for Star Wars fans, it wasn't even the EU. Like, that was just what Star Wars was. So there's plenty of amazing Star Wars stories to pull from with that era. So, I don't know. Interesting point she makes. I don't think she's firing shots at Marvel, despite what James Rosile from the Rebel Scum podcast told me, which, by the way, guys, I'm going to out James Rosile as a secret Star Wars hater. I have the receipts. He hates Star Wars. He plays nice on the internet, but he really doesn't like it. So there's your shout out, James. I hope that was okay. But let me know what you think about all of that as far as the photos, the new trailer, Kathy's interview here. I'm sure you got some thoughts. Let me know in the comment section below. And now let's get into the juicy stuff, baby. What's going on in Leakland? What's going on the rumor mill when it comes to Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker? So the first place I want to start with is this idea that's being perpetuated out there online that, like, oh, all of the leakers have been pretty silent since the trailer, aka the leaks are probably fake. These leakers don't know what they're talking about. Things are changing, yada, yada, yada. Oh, and by the way, I should say spoiler warning in this part of the video, even though everybody just has been ignoring my spoiler warnings for the past 6 months, but I'm telling you, I believe the leaks. I believe some of the stuff is real. So if you don't want anything for The Rise of Skywalker spoiled for you, do not watch the rest of this video. I mean, look, I can't speak necessarily for Jason. I can't speak for Jedi Pax's Fantha Tracks. I can't speak for Bespin Bulletin, any of those guys, right? If I'm a leaker, which I guess I technically kind of am at this point, I'm a JV squad leaker, right? But I can just speak for me personally. The reason that we're not talking about stuff when it comes to the trailer and leaks is like, look, we know the whole movie. The whole movie has been leaked. Even in this new trailer where you see that it is the Falcon that is pushing back Kylo Ren and the stormtroopers on that ship, that completely proves a scoop that Jason Ward was talking about. He's talked about this scene. I could literally detail the entire scene out, at least the major points of what is going on there. But yeah, she is escaping, and this is like with Chewbacca. This is with the Wayfinder device that she finds in Kylo's private chambers. Like, look, the reason I'm not talking about the leaks anymore is, what's the point in talking about the leaks? At this point, I just want to see the movie. I want to see did JJ pull something incredible off and all the leaks were wrong? Maybe, but he's doing a hell of a job because everything I've seen in marketing just proves that the leaks were right. And so I think it's just weird, man. It's so weird how many people want the leaks to be wrong and how many people are like taking shots at the leakers. It's like they're shooting the messengers because they don't like the leaks. And look, do you, boo-boo, that's cool, but I'm just telling you from my perspective, I mean, for God's sakes, I've got a video like 700,000 views talking about not only the photo I leaked on Reddit, but the ending of The Rise of Skywalker and what's actually going on in that thing. It's like, I don't need to put out any more stuff about it. I've said my piece. And so seeing that attitude online, seeing people like bring that up has just been annoying to me, but whatever. I just wanted to address it. From my perspective, that's why none of the leakers are really talking about anything else. That, like, Paxis has literally detailed beat for beat almost the entire film. What do you want him to do? Keep recycling the same post? And now let's talk about this next thing, the Doomcock scoop, right? This rumor that he has heard. A source reached out to Doomcock, told him this thing about, well, at first it told him, I think he was running with the idea of 6 different endings. Then I think the next report was something like, no, it's 25% of 3 different movies that are ending or so, whatever. Look, the point is, I think Doomcock had a scoop where he was talking about how there's 3 different endings. There's like a Kathy ending, there's a Bob Iger ending, and then there's a secret Star Wars George Lucas ending. There were these test screenings, and the films are getting like horrible, or the movie's getting horrible scores and all of that. So let me just kind of explain this, okay? So first of all, like, I'm not going to call Doomcock a liar. Like, I don't think he's a liar. In fact, I think that he has literally been handed that information from sources. I think that people are emailing him, claiming to have inside information. They're telling him this stuff. And when you think about his shtick and the way he plays the YouTube game, why wouldn't he talk about about that sort of stuff, right? Totally makes sense. I don't hate Doomcock. I don't even look down at Doomcock for doing this, but here's the thing. If you're asking me my honest opinion about how valid those rumors are, I think they're pretty invalid. And here's why. I am in the leaking community. Part of what I do here is talking about leaks, talking about rumors, and I've learned how to source what's credible out there when it comes to a rumor. And there's a couple of really interesting ways to do this that are pretty simple. First of all, you identify people that have a good track record. The more people come out there and their track record is, by the way, like, the internet is a wild place, right? But one of the things that the internet will not let you forget is if you're wrong about stuff. So, like, you know, Jason Ward and I chat a good bit, and like when he has a scoop, he gets nervous about running with it, and he confirms it with different sources because his reputation is on the line. If he comes out with something and it turns out to not be true, people will hold that against him, and he won't be able to get the same buzz with his scoops in the future. And so that's why he does his due diligence with his scoops. And in the Marvel community, this is pretty easy to figure out. We have figured out who are the good sources out there, who are the bad sources out there, right? Mikey Sutton, questionable. Jeremy Conrad, pretty good, but gets a few things wrong here or there. Daniel PKR seems to be pretty good. We've got this covered. Total ass, right? So like we can tell where the good sources are coming from. And by the way, one of the best metrics for this is just go to the spoiler Reddit. Go to the Reddit for Star Wars leaks. The Doomcock scoop is not anywhere to be found on that page. And the reason is because if somebody brought it up on that page, it probably got disliked into oblivion, and mods like Paxis himself and other people that are in the leaking community either wouldn't let it go or would just let it go and it got downvoted. So it's a very easy thing. You just go on Reddit. Like, this is literally something I do. I go on Reddit when I'm checking out a scoop and I see what are the comments, what are the key players, the people that are figureheads in the leaking community, what are those people saying? When I get things that are corroborated, like if something's blowing up on the Star Wars Leaks subreddit and like reliable people like Paxis are talking about it, and then Vanthrax runs with it, and then Jason corroborates it, you know what I mean? Then I get the sense that like, oh, this is real. There's something real to this, right? The only reason we took Paxis serious was because other leakers with very good track records corroborated his leak, which was mind-blowing to all of us because I thought those Paxis leaks were fake as fuck. And so it's pretty simple, man. Like when you look at all of these sources out there, when I look to corroborate what Doomcock is talking about, I see nothing. I see nothing to support it. In fact, the sources I have and the people that I have talked to actually paint a totally different story. And this is where it gets weird for me because frankly, guys, just being real, I'd actually prefer it if Doomcock was correct. If you watch my coverage of The Rise of Skywalker, one of the things that I am frustrated about is the way the film will actually play out. By all accounts. Like, it's rumor. Until we see the film, it's all rumor and speculation, right? But the thing that I'm pissed about when it comes to The Rise of Skywalker is that, no, it doesn't seem like they are changing anything. In fact, the one thing I can tell you is that they're making very small, seemingly insignificant changes. Like, for instance, at the very end of the film, when Rey is approached by someone on Tatooine, and it's just a local, originally that local was going to be a female, now it's a male, or something like that. So they're changing, like, little stupid things like that. They're not changing the ending. The ending is locked. And it's challenging for me because I have to separate like my feelings from like what I think is actually going on, because my feelings are like, oh man, I'd love it if they were test screening this and finding out that, yeah, a lot of people probably aren't going to like that ending and then changing it. But that's not what's happening. Star Wars films do not have open test screenings. They do have test screenings, but they're for internal people. So they're from people within Disney, and it's really, really closed, man. It's really closed off, because if it wasn't, you would be seeing people like Jason Ward, Vanthrax, and Jedi Paxis talk about them. If they were out there in some way that were more public, you would see the list of usual suspects talking about it. They're not talking about it because it's not happening. Now, it gets to a weird area where it's like, oh, who's right? And like, some people were like, I saw people out there talking about the Doomcock scoop, and then people got mad at them for even talking about it, for even speculating about it. By the way, the idea of a secret Skywalker, that's awesome. That's crazy. I would love to speculate about that. That's an interesting topic. And there were people out there that said, if you even speculate or bring up Doomcock's thing, you're giving him a platform, you're putting fake news out there and all this other stuff. It's like, look, we're all speculating at this point, right? But what I have to tell you is from my perspective and my speculation, the sources that I've talked to, I'll just tell you straight up, I think there's literally zero truth to what Doomcock is talking about, but I can't prove that. And by the way, if we watch The Rise of Skywalker and there just happens, here's the thing, I was thinking about this. If there's a secret Skywalker at the end of that film, do you understand how much that's going to blow up and how much everybody will go back and be like, damn, Doomcock was right. You know what I mean? And his channel will blow up and it'll be really great for him. I personally don't think that's going to happen, but is it a possibility? Sure. It's like, is it a possibility that JJ has put the wool over all of our eyes, that this is all misinformation, misdirection in the trailers, that the leaks were put out by Disney and there's a totally different movie that we're going to see? It's possible. It's technically possible. And here's where it gets weird for me. I want that to be true. I so badly want that to be true. But as far as my reporting, I can't tell you that I have any indication that that's what's really going on. As far as I know, in the reporting sense, it's pretty much locked, guys. And yes, that does mean that Ben Solo is going to be yeeted off that cliff and he's never going to be seen again, and people are going to be pretty pissed about it. So that's where we're at with it. But anyways, guys, that's my breakdown of all the new Star Wars news promotion finally rolling out for The Rise of Skywalker. Hope it ramps up even more. I want to see more, baby. There was also the interview with Kathleen Kennedy. I thought it was interesting. I'm sure you have some thoughts about that. And then let's talk about the leaks. Let's talk about the Doomcock thing, everything that's going on in the world of Star Wars. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And now let's check the nerd card before we get out of here. I want to know, what planet do the Night Sisters, the witches that use the dark side of the Force, what planet do they hail from? Answer that question in the comment section below. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.